Hello, everyone. Let me ask you something. How do you define respect? Is it something you demand or something you become? Because here's what I've learned. You don't chase respect, you attract it. And you do that by first removing the very things that push it away. So today I want to talk about 5 habits we must let go of, not just to earn respect from others, but to respect ourselves first. Respect. It's one of those things everyone wants, but not everyone truly understands. Many believe it's about status, success, or influence, but the truth? Respect has little to do with how loud your voice is or how many eyes are on you. It has everything to do with how you carry yourself when no one's watching. You don't demand it, you attract it. And like gravity, it pulls toward those who've earned it, quietly, consistently, through how they live. You see, we live in a world that often confuses noise for power. The louder someone speaks, the more attention they get, right? The more someone shows off their life, their looks, their luxuries, the more we assume they've made it. But respect doesn't work that way. It's not fooled by appearance. It's not won by bragging. Real respect flows from authenticity, humility, and the quiet confidence that doesn't need to be announced. It just is. Think of the people you respect most, not admire from afar, but truly respect. What do they have in common? Maybe it's the way they show up with grace. Maybe it's how they treat others, especially the ones who can do nothing for them. Maybe it's their ability to stay rooted when others are swayed by trends, pressure, or public opinion. These are the people who inspire us not because they're perfect, but because they're real. Grounded, clear about who they are and what they stand for. But here's the thing, becoming that person takes inner work, it takes intentional choices, and the first step is understanding that respect is not something we force from the world, it's something we build within ourselves. It's not about putting on a show, it's about living with purpose. To attract respect, you must first become someone you respect. That's the heart of it. And that starts with honesty. Are you showing up as the real you? Are you honoring your values when no one's watching? Are you building others up or quietly judging from a corner? Are you speaking truth or telling people what they want to hear? People can sense authenticity. They can feel it when you're being genuine and when you're faking it. Respect follows those who are brave enough to be consistent, even when it's uncomfortable. The ones who lead with integrity, not ego. The ones who choose kindness without needing recognition. The ones who say, "This is who I am," and let that speak louder than anything else. Attracting respect is about presence. Not the kind that comes from fame or followers, but the kind that enters a room and makes people sit up. Not because you said something flashy, but because your energy speaks louder than words. That's the kind of presence that lasts. That's the kind that can't be bought or staged. And guess what? It's not about being perfect. It's about being real. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to not have it all figured out. What matters is how you respond. Do you take accountability? Do you learn? Do you grow? Because people don't respect flawless. They respect fearless. The courage to evolve. The strength to be vulnerable. The wisdom to keep learning. Respect is also built in the way you treat others. Every single day you're given small moments, choices, to show people what you're made of. Do you treat the waiter the same way you treat the CEO? Do you listen without interrupting? Do you celebrate others' wins without envy? These aren't just acts of kindness. They're signals. They tell the world who you are, and the world responds accordingly. When you focus on becoming the kind of person who lives with truth, kindness, and strength, you won't have to ask for respect. It'll find you. People will listen when you speak, not because you command it, but because they trust you. They'll believe in your vision, not because you sold it, but because they see it in the way you live. They'll stand by you, not because of your name, but because of your character. So no, respect is not about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about being the clearest, the calmest, the most honest. And when you become that kind of person, the one who doesn't just talk about values, but lives them, respect doesn't just show up for a moment, it stays. And you become unforgettable. Let's be honest. Life isn't always fair. People will misjudge you. You'll face betrayal, rejection, and loss. And when it happens, it's easy, almost natural, to slip into the mindset of a victim, to feel like the world is against you, to think, why does this always happen to me? But here's the hard truth. While pain is inevitable, the victim mindset is a choice. And if you're serious about earning respect from others and from yourself, you have to let it go. Because here's what happens when you stay in that mindset. You give your power away. You start to believe that everything is happening to you, not for you. You become reactive instead of proactive. You wait for someone else to fix your life, to make it easier, to save you, but no one's coming to do that. And the longer you wait for someone else to change your situation, the longer you stay stuck. Now, I'm not saying your pain isn't real. I'm not saying the struggles you faced aren't valid. They are, and you have every right to feel what you feel. But feeling it and living in it are two very different things. One helps you heal, the other holds you hostage. The victim mindset is subtle. It disguises itself as being honest about your struggles. It sounds like people never give me a chance, or it's easy for them because they have support, or I'd be further along if life had been fair. But every time you say those words, you reinforce the idea that you're powerless. And that is the fastest way to lose respect, not just from others, but from the one person you can't run from, yourself. You see, people respect strength, but not the kind of strength that never cries or never feels broken. No. They respect the kind of strength that feels everything, falls to the floor, screams into the dark, and still gets back up. The kind of strength that says, yes, this happened to me, but it will not define me. That's where real respect is born, in resilience, in ownership. When you let go of the victim mindset, you begin to take responsibility, not for what happened, but for what comes next. And that shift is everything. You move from why me to watch me. You stop waiting for things to change, and you become the one who changes. You stop being reactive and you start being intentional. You realize you have choices, you have voice, you have power. And people notice that, they respect it. Because it's rare. Most people stay stuck in the same story for years, some for their whole lives. They keep repeating the same blame, the same excuses, the same pain. But the ones who rise, the ones who rewrite their story, they walk differently. They speak with clarity. They move with quiet strength. That kind of presence commands attention. It earns respect. Not just because of what they've survived, but because of how they survived it. Letting go of the victim mindset doesn't mean pretending everything's okay. It means saying, this is where I am, but this is not where I'll stay. It's understanding that even when you didn't choose the pain, you can choose the healing. Even when you didn't cause the damage, you can be the one to rebuild. And here's something beautiful. When you take that journey, when you stop playing the victim and start owning your story, you become someone else's inspiration. You show others what's possible. You remind them of their strength. You give them permission to rise too. There's power in that. There's legacy in that. But it starts with a decision. To stop pointing fingers and start taking ownership. To stop asking for pity and start earning pride. To stop living in survival mode and step into your power. So ask yourself, are you playing small because of what happened to you? Are you shrinking because you're afraid to rise again? Are you waiting for someone else to make it better? Because you don't need to wait. You are not your pain. You are not your past. You are not what they did or what they said or what you lost. You are what you choose to become next. And when you choose growth over bitterness, power over pity, and purpose over pain, respect doesn't just follow. It stands and applauds. There's a moment, quiet, almost invisible, when you find yourself scrolling through your phone, refreshing for likes, hoping for a comment, maybe checking if someone watched your story. It seems harmless, just part of the digital world we live in. But if you're honest, you know it runs deeper. It's the craving for validation, that inner voice whispering, I'm enough, right? Here's the truth. Seeking constant validation from others is one of the fastest ways to lose your power. And it's one of the deepest habits you must remove if you truly want to earn respect. Because respect, the kind that lasts, is built on self-worth, not public approval. The need for validation starts subtly. It might look like second-guessing your outfit until a friend approves it. It might sound like changing your opinion just to avoid standing out. Sometimes it's posting something not because it means something to you, but because you know it'll perform. And on the surface, it seems harmless. But underneath, it becomes a dependency. You begin to shrink yourself into what you think others want. You edit your truth, you filter your life, and soon, you're not even sure who you are without the applause. But here's the thing. People respect authenticity, not perfection. They don't respect the version of you that's crafted to be liked. They respect the version of you that stands firm even when it's not popular. That speaks honestly even when it's uncomfortable, that chooses peace over performance. Seeking validation turns your life into a stage and your identity into a performance. It keeps you trapped in a cycle where you only feel good if someone else tells you that you are. And let's be honest, no amount of likes, compliments, or attention will ever be enough if you don't believe in your own worth first. People often confuse attention with respect, but they're not the same. You can go viral and still not be valued. You can be the center of every conversation and still feel completely empty. Respect is deeper. It's not about being seen, it's about being trusted. It's about someone saying, I believe in who you are, not just what you show. And you can only earn that kind of respect when you stop chasing external approval and start grounding yourself in inner truth. That means being okay with silence, with moments where no one notices you, with knowing who you are even when the spotlight moves away. That's when your self-worth begins to grow roots. That's when you stop breaking at every opinion or shrinking at every disapproval. Imagine how powerful you'd be if you didn't need anyone to tell you you're enough. Imagine the peace that would come from being your full, honest self, unfiltered, unpolished, and still proud. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. That's living in a way that's true to your soul. To get there, you have to build your own voice louder than the crowd's. You have to be willing to disappoint others if it means being honest with yourself. You have to stop performing and start living. It won't always be easy. There will be moments where the silence feels like rejection. Moments where you wonder if staying true to yourself is worth it. But I promise you, those are the moments where your character is forged, where your inner strength becomes visible. And that is what earns real respect. Not the curated version of your life, but the courage it takes to live it your way. Start small. Post what matters to you, not what you think people want to see. Say what you really feel in that meeting, even if your voice shakes. Choose the outfit that expresses you, not the trend. Stand by your values, even if it means standing alone. Because the truth is, the most magnetic people are not the ones who are liked by everyone. They're the ones who are clear about who they are, what they believe, and how they move through the world. That clarity, that confidence, that's what earns respect. So let go of the need to be validated. Let go of the fear that being your true self isn't enough. Because it is more than enough. And once you believe that, once you really live like you believe that, people will see it, they'll feel it, and the right ones, they won't just respect you, they'll be inspired by you. Think about someone whose word you truly trust. Someone who, when they say they'll do something, you don't even question it. You just know it'll get done. That kind of person stands out. Their promises aren't just words, they're commitments. And that consistency builds something rare and powerful. Respect. In a world where people overpromise and underdeliver, your word is more than a tool, it's your brand. It tells people who you are long before you even prove it. If you say something and follow through, you show integrity. But when you break your word, when your actions and your promises don't match, you lose something far more valuable than the task itself. You lose trust. And once that trust is gone, earning respect becomes a steep uphill battle. We often treat our words lightly, saying, I'll call you tomorrow, or let's meet next week, or I'll take care of it, without really meaning it. Sometimes we forget, sometimes we get too busy, and sometimes we never intended to follow through in the first place. But to the person on the other end, those words meant something. They were expecting you to show up, to deliver, to care. And when you don't, it doesn't just reflect your schedule, it reflects your character. People don't just remember what you do. They remember what you say you'll do. And when your words consistently fail to match your actions, people stop listening. They stop believing. They start to assume that everything you say comes with a hidden asterisk. Only if it's convenient. That kind of reputation doesn't earn respect, it earns caution. And no one wants to be known as unreliable, even if it's unintentional. But here's the powerful part. The opposite is also true. When you live in a way where your word means something, where people know they can count on you, you stand out, you become someone people can rely on, someone they look to when it matters. That's influence. That's leadership. And it all starts with a simple but powerful principle. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Keeping your word doesn't mean you say yes to everything. In fact, it often means saying no more often. Because when you commit to something, you're attaching your name to it. If you say you'll do it well. If you're unsure, It's better to be honest from the start than to promise and fall short. People respect honesty more than empty optimism. Let's talk about promises to yourself too, because those matter just as much, if not more, than the ones you make to others. When you say, I'm going to start working out, or I'll stop procrastinating, or I'm going to change my habits, you're not just making a to-do list. You're building or breaking trust with yourself. And just like with others, if you constantly go back on your own word, you'll start doubting your own strength. You'll start to feel like your promises don't carry weight. That erosion of self-respect, it seeps into every part of your life. Keeping your word is about self-discipline. It's about knowing your limits, managing your time, and treating your commitments like they matter, because they do. It's not glamorous, it's not always easy, but it's what separates people who are taken seriously from those who are simply tolerated. And you don't need to be perfect. Sometimes life gets in the way, emergencies happen, priorities shift. But when you communicate clearly, when you let people know what's going on instead of disappearing or making excuses, you still earn respect. Because you're showing accountability, you're showing maturity. That matters. Start paying attention to your words. Don't make promises casually. When you say something, pause and ask yourself, can I follow through? Am I being honest? Will I stand by this even if it's inconvenient? That kind of self-awareness will transform your relationships, your career, and your confidence. In the end, your word is your reputation in motion. You don't need to be the loudest person in the room or the most talented. If people know they can count on you, if they know you'll show up, follow through, and stand behind your commitments, that earns more respect than any title or status ever could. So protect your word, treat it like gold, speak it with intention, back it up with action. Because in a world full of noise, the most powerful thing you can be is dependable. We live in a world obsessed with image. Everywhere you turn, there's a filter, a brand, a version of someone that's been curated to impress. The pressure to fit in, to be accepted, to be seen as enough is real. But here's the truth that's easy to forget. The most respected people in any room are not the ones who blend in. They're the ones who stand out by being authentically themselves, unapologetically, fearlessly, and consistently. Being your authentic self doesn't mean being loud or dramatic. It doesn't mean you need to tell everyone your life story or overshare your struggles. It simply means this: being real, living in alignment with who you are, what you believe, and how you feel, without constantly bending yourself to meet other people's expectations. That kind of presence is magnetic, not because it's perfect, but because it's true. We're often taught, directly or indirectly, that we have to edit ourselves to be accepted. Tone yourself down, smile more, don't be too ambitious, too bold, too honest, too much. But here's what happens when you shrink to fit. You lose your shine. You begin to live a version of your life that doesn't belong to you. And deep down, even if others admire that version, you'll know it's not real. You'll feel the weight of that mask. And over time, it dims your confidence and chips away at your self-respect. The truth is, you can't earn genuine respect by pretending. You might win short-term approval. You might even gain popularity. But deep respect, the kind that builds trust, the kind that lasts through seasons, only comes when people see your truth and recognize your courage to live it. That courage? That's rare, and that's exactly why it's so respected. It's tempting to be who others want you to be, especially if you've spent years people-pleasing or trying to avoid conflict. But ask yourself, at what cost? Whose life are you living if every decision is filtered through what other people think? If you have to water yourself down to keep the peace, that peace isn't real, and neither is the respect it brings. Authenticity isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent. Being the same person at home, at work, with friends, and when you're alone. It's about choosing integrity over imitation. It's about having the courage to say, this is who I am. This is what I value. This is what I believe. And then living in a way that reflects that. Without apology, without shame. When you show up as yourself, something powerful happens. The right people find you. The ones who value truth over trends. The ones who aren't intimidated by your strength, your softness, your quirks, your story. These are the people who will respect you, not in spite of your authenticity, but because of it. And here's something else. Being yourself doesn't mean everyone will like you. In fact, it almost guarantees that some people won't. But that's okay. Because respect isn't about being liked by everyone. It's about being valued by the right ones. You don't need to fit into every room. You need to find the ones where your authenticity creates space, not tension. There's nothing more powerful than someone who knows who they are and doesn't flinch when questioned. Someone who has boundaries, standards, and a clear voice, even if that voice isn't the loudest. That kind of grounded energy, it speaks volumes. It says, I don't need your approval to feel worthy. I already know who I am. The journey to authenticity takes work. It means confronting your fears of judgment, of failure, of rejection. It means getting to know yourself on a deeper level, beyond the roles you've been taught to play. But once you do that, once you start living from that place, you don't just attract respect, you command it. So stop waiting for permission to be yourself. Stop editing your personality to fit someone else's mold. The world doesn't need another copy, it needs you. All of you, the messy parts, the magical parts, the in-progress parts. Because when you walk into a room and own your story, when you speak from your truth, when you show up exactly as you are, you don't have to chase respect. It meets you there every single time. There's something incredibly dangerous about pride when it goes unchecked. Not the healthy kind, the kind that pushes you to aim higher, hold your head up and take pride in your work. I'm talking about ego. That subtle, slippery pride that whispers, you already know enough. You don't need to change. You're better than them. It's the kind of pride that stops growth in its tracks and slowly chips away at the very thing so many people are trying to earn. Respect. We all have an ego. It's human. It shows up when we're challenged, when we're criticized, or when we feel insecure. But when you allow that pride to control your decisions, you create a wall between you and progress. You stop listening, you stop learning, you start believing your way is the only way and that anyone who disagrees is either wrong or beneath you. And in that moment, even if you look confident on the outside, what people really see is fear hiding behind arrogance. You cannot grow if you think you already know everything. You cannot evolve if your pride is too loud to hear feedback. You cannot earn deep, lasting respect if you're too busy protecting your ego to admit when you're wrong. Because the truth is, people don't respect perfection, they respect humility. They respect the person who can lead and still learn, who can win and still listen, who can be successful and still stay grounded. Think about the people you admire the most, the ones who seem larger than life, yet completely approachable. What sets them apart isn't just talent or intelligence, it's humility. It's the way they carry themselves without needing to prove anything. They walk into a room and don't need to dominate it. They know who they are, and because they're secure in that, they don't need to constantly defend it. That kind of quiet strength, that earns respect in every room it enters. The problem with pride is that it convinces you that vulnerability is weakness. It tells you that asking for help makes you look small, that admitting a mistake is defeat. But that's a lie. Vulnerability is strength. Asking for help is wisdom. Owning your mistakes is integrity. And those are the very qualities that make people trust you, admire you, follow you, not because you're perfect, but because you're real. Letting go of pride doesn't mean you devalue yourself. It doesn't mean you stop celebrating your strengths or believing in your worth. It just means you stay open. You remain teachable. You understand that no matter how much you know, there's always more to learn. That no matter how far you've come, you still have room to grow. It means you stop trying to be right all the time and start focusing on what's true. And truth doesn't always feel good. Sometimes it comes in the form of feedback you didn't want to hear. Sometimes it shows up as a failure that exposes a weakness. Sometimes it's a conversation that forces you to see a part of yourself you've been avoiding. But if you meet those moments with humility instead of defensiveness, you won't just grow, you'll transform. People watch how you handle those moments. Do you listen or do you shut down? Do you reflect or do you blame? Do you apologize or do you justify? Your response tells them whether your pride is in charge or your character is. And trust me, nothing earns more respect than someone who can be powerful and humble at the same time. So check your pride. Pay attention to when it flares up. Notice when it tries to silence feedback, avoid responsibility, or inflate your sense of self. And instead of feeding it, pause. Ask yourself, am I responding from truth or from ego? Am I choosing growth or just trying to protect my image? Because the image means nothing if there's no substance behind it. Pride might get you noticed. It might even get you praised in the short term. But humility builds legacy. It makes people want to work with you, trust you, stand beside you. Let go of the need to always be right. Let go of the illusion that you've arrived. Stay open, stay grounded, and stay humble. Because when people see that you're not above learning, not afraid to grow, and not too proud to admit you don't have it all figured out, they don't just respect you, they remember you.